All right.
Uh, Good morning, brother.
Good morning, morning.
Good morning to everyone. It's another beautiful day. It's a great day to be alive. Um, as they say, what was it? The movie 300. God has blessed me with another one. Um, so you should always do, learn something new. And today's a great day to do it.
Every day.
You every day you should learn something new. If you don't learn something new every day, you are not progressing. You are stagnant. You are staying still. Um, yeah. So don't be the one on a subway where the train's moving, but you're not.
Yeah. We on this platform, but we moving.
You can be on the train and not move. That's the point.
Mm,
Everything else around you is moving. The whole world is moving, but you're not because you standing still.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, man.
You think you're going somewhere, but you're not. It's all how you look at it. Um, Disclaimer.
Yeah. Yeah. As you know, this information that you are receiving today is for educational and entertainment purposes. If you are inclined to enjoy this type of broadcast, this is not legal advice. If you are in a legal matter and you seek resolution, do seek counsel and be so advised. There's various forms of counsel. You could seek lawyer or attorney, or you could even refer to legal doctrine, or you could learn the law. So we're here to discuss that. But as said previously, this is not legal advice. However, it is backed and based totally in the law and other legal documentation. But we emphasize law. However, like I said once more, this is not legal advice. Seek counsel and be so advised if you are in a legal matter. All right. Um,
So, article. Which one is it?
this is six.
The Constitution for the United States of America, Article 5. No, Articles. What is it? 6 and 7. Excuse me.
6 and 7. Yeah. What are we
Article
on?
6 and 7. We're going to make sure we do 6. We're going to try to get 7 because it's a very short one. We can combine them. In all honesty, but we'll make sure that we do each one thoroughly. That's the whole point. Um, to make sure that you have a clear understanding to where you can have comprehension of what everything is talking about. Um, a lot of Webster's dictionaries have the words meaning the same thing: comprehension and understanding. In reality, they can't possibly be the same thing, but it sounds good. And it's a lot easier to do the work if you just say, yeah, just the same. So, yeah, you want to have a clear understanding so that way you can comprehend it. Um,
Yeah, comprehension is a further level.
it Comprehension actually has to do with some action. Understanding is not an action. Comprehension is. Your mind has to physically go to a point where it can put two and two together to make it something that is equatable to you.
Yep.
Um, Understanding is just like you know what it means. That doesn't mean you know how to use it. That's the
On
difference.
surface
That's where
level.
comprehension and understanding come into play. Just because you know what it means doesn't mean you know how to use it. Just know what it is doesn't mean you know how to use it.
Yeah. You could be on the lake, or you could dive beneath the surface.
Yeah. So you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, let's hit this. First, of course, Hale versus Hinkle, a strong linchpin towards any
Every
matter
cast.
which we you know involve ourselves in here. All right, so Hale versus Hinkle was decided by the United States Supreme Court in 1906. The opinion of the court states the individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state, or no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to incriminate him. He owes no duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and property. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land, i.e., common law, long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights.
I love that part. It says, and in accordance with the Constitution.
Yeah.
When you don't comprehend the words, you don't, just because you understand it means together doesn't mean that you comprehend what that actually puts into play. It means it has to go also with the Constitution. So
It's funny. That kind of reminds me. I'm sorry, small aside. So I had posted this article about, you seen the giant about the black father who had taken his child to school and another child had cut his daughter's hair.
wait. Your phone started cutting. Well, the screen starts cutting out. What you say again?
Oh, the matter where the guy had a biracial daughter who another child had cut their hair or cut her hair at school. And then so basically it was like, oh man, kids amongst themselves, that shouldn't have happened. So he took his daughter to a salon to get like a hairstyle that covered up the weirdness of how the other child had clipped his daughter's hair. And then the teacher took it upon herself to go even further and say, that haircut doesn't belong in this classroom, and then cut her hair into like some sort of weird I don't know. So just cut it super low, and it just looked funny. And he's suing for $1 million because of the violation of her constitutional rights. And yeah, so
you want me to go in on it? Because I
mean, yeah, you got a couple of minutes to, I was just wondering if you had even if it caught your eye that he had
I saw it. It's similar to another one that had gone on before it, where the kid, I think it was, had dreads.
Oh yeah.
It was a little kid. The fact that someone assumes that you're a property, because what a lot of people don't quite comprehend is the issue that children are your property because they cannot make any rational decisions. So you are the caretaker, the ward of the. They are a ward of you in your state, and they are for business. Even if you're talking about business practices, they are your property. So anytime anyone does anything to your property or harms your property, they owe you for the damages that have been done. So it's really cutting, lack of a better term, no pun intended, cut and dry.
Yeah.
When it comes to law. The problem is most people will go about it with the legal system, and the legal system determines whether or not something is your property or not, simply because all of it, you are their property. So they get to determine what has been done to the property, even though you are a man or a woman. When you give someone else rights over you or ownership over you, whatever is done to you and your property is under their discretion.
Yep.
So
And no, I was just
it
gonna say,
go ahead.
it's just a very good time to say this one thing so that people are very um firm in their understanding of what's going on. And like you just said about the legal system, once you've imbued or called upon the legal system to resolve a matter, everything has defaulted itself to being underneath the government, the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, if that's the realm in which you are seeking remedy.
Anytime you try to seek remedy or compensation from someone else who you let decide your worth, you're never going to get the value.
Exactly. Yep.
So I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
People go about all day, every day. Hey, I can't.
I had someone like get into like a argument with me over it, or like they tried to be snarky or something. And I was just like, yeah, the uninitiated aren't able to comprehend the idea of how claiming your child as property, I mean, it's literally genetic property, is a protective measure if you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to dance circles around it. It was just it's too much labor. As you can tell, I've labored.
All conversations usually stop when you start saying property, because those in the legal system can understand that you actually know what's going on. So the case kind of comes to a halt because now they have to seek a different frame of mind and how to deal with the matter, and it usually becomes one of those settlements. Yeah. Because you don't want information getting out. Settlements are nice because you get to make contingencies where the information within the settlement is not disclosed.
Yeah, you can just seal the record on it.
Yeah, so
just
it is what it is.
Video of the Moorish dude who had the cops were yoking up his son, and he showed up on the scene and started talking about his property and the kidnapping that was going on, and they just let him go, and they didn't want to hear nothing from the guy. But I mean, he sat there and gave him all that they needed, but
and more.
It was just a prime.
He gave him the business.
Yeah,
he gave him the business.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for indulging me in that. I just thought it was especially relevant to what we do here.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, we can take into Article 6 if you want me to pick up.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You can kick it off.
All right. Here we go. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under the Constitution as under the Confederation.
That's tough.
That's a very interesting statement, because we
all
know who furnished their voyage. We all know who furnished the voyage into the quote-unquote New World.
Same people who they were running from?
Quote-unquote, allegedly.
Yeah, but only for that 10-year hiatus where it wasn't the same thing. But there's a whole nother subject about the creation and the facts and all that stuff that nobody likes to talk about.
Yeah. So let's keep going. We can anything we want to say there? Well,
simply every contract that was made before all debts and stuff are still valid, even if with the creation of the United States, which comes into the whole Magna Carta and the whole this is a republic and everyone is their own sovereign and king, and they can do whatever they want to as long as they do not cause any bodily or property harm to another, which is in every single constitution, and that is the definition of a crime if you cause that property or bodily harm. Now legal system takes it to a whole nother extent, but those contracts were already written long before the United States was created, so that legal system is why it is inferior to the superior. So If you go with this system, more power to go ahead. More power to you, or less power to you actually. But um,
Right.
uh, yeah, that is what it is. That's what it
It's
said.
downright honorable considering how the separation occurred. Uh, yeah. Okay. Without bringing too much further question, let's continue there. Um, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state in the contrary, states to the contrary, notwithstanding.
You want to expound on that?
Well, I just thought the most interesting thing there was it literally said the Constitution itself and the laws of the United States, and made basically in pursuit of being under the Constitution. It's going to be that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and like it's literally like I said, like we had just kind of discussed before in further detail here. Everything's inferior to the constitutional idea of the Republic of every person is a sovereign unto themselves, and that's the default setting. So all that legality all fall. I mean, the
All the
judiciary, everything.
legalese, all the judiciary, all those the inferior things is why we have the Supreme Court in the first place. Because like I use it so much because I love it. It's the easiest way to do it. The quote Justice Scalia, we don't strike down. Everyone always says, we strike down the Supreme when talking about the Supreme Court. Justice Scalia said, and I quote. Well, I won't quote because I'm a little off. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I might be a little off. But in summation, we everyone always says we strike down your laws. The Supreme Court said, that's not law, and the Supreme Court destroys the laws. We don't quote. We don't strike down your laws. We just don't listen because it has nothing to do with oil and water. Why am I going to listen to something that's inferior?
Yeah, I mean, oh, I was just saying. It reminds me of that biblical statement from Jesus when I think about how this is stated here. The Constitution is supreme above all, blah blah. The thing he said to the devil is like, "Get behind me, Satan!" Like all that other stuff. I mean, this is supreme.
That's man. That's a statement. I think that might have went over some heads. Can you expound on that? Because that is a great way to look at it.
Well, it's just for the I guess if you could hypothetically have eyes into that scenario, just think about like it's weird. I feel bad because okay, I'm gonna conflate two things here, but not necessarily. It comes from the same book. So if you talk about you think about the book of Job, there was a battle between God and the adversary over, and at that particular passage, the entity was known as the adversary, over the affections of one of his loyal, servants, and basically in this, if you take yourself into that was from the Old Testament. If you go into the New Testament and you look at how Jesus interacts with Satan here, it's to say, get behind me, Satan, for all the things that you manipulate and control and do, in my presence, you stand down. And you'll always see biblically, Satan never outright faces up to Jesus. God's son is supreme.
God is superior and Satan is inferior because God created Satan. So there's no way that Satan can tell God what to do or can have any power over anything that is godly.
And
Um,
okay, I got one other thing to
I
ask.
was just saying, like you said, it's like looking at, the common law versus the legal system, you know, to put it in reference to what we're saying. You know, you can't, one, which is godly, is literally based on godly, universal law. And the other is just based on, what we think,
There you go.
what, how I came to think about it. Well, that's all great, but God comes first. Everything else is inferior.
And
Common
hey,
comes first. Everything else is inferior.
and if you want to put it into literal terms, I know anyone who's been following this for a while has heard me talk about the idea of traversing, which is the idea that Satan has never been a physical entity on this planet. If you are the Judeo Christian belief system or whatnot, then it is your understanding that Jesus physically existed on this earth, even being the son of an entity that is not like of this planet. He actually existed in the real flesh. So that being the case, Satan is trying to imbue his power onto a realm in which he can't have that ability. So get behind me, Satan. That's laws. This is laws canon. Everything else is a fan fiction.
Great, yeah. Uh, Good way to put it in context.
All right. Let's hit this last segment here. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. That's very interesting considering what I just went into.
well, well, and to go further on what they're saying, you shouldn't need a test. There should not be any requirement for a test because everything you are doing, because all this is derived from a godly place. Why is the test needed? You're supposed to be acting in honor. You're supposed to be acting according to your oath. You're supposed to be acting to your affirmation, oath and affirmation. So why would I need a test to for you to prove it? If you're
Yeah,
not doing it, that's the problem right there.
yeah, you took an oath. The test is the fact that you would pledge something.
Yeah. The test was you taking the oath. That was the test right there. Now anything you do besides it um, shows how willing you are to falsify data, um, fabricate information in order to get what you want. So working for evil. You want to step out on evil, um, and not act in honor and not have any faith in the higher power. So if you want to do that, go ahead. And many people do. Many people step out on that ledge and start. Everything's based on self and selfishness and 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 basically what I can get out of it at the detriment of everyone else.
And
When you do that, your oath and affirmation says otherwise. But when you do that, you are now acting in dishonor. And when you're acting in dishonor, you are removed from the system because the system is not supposed to work with people who are dishonorable. The fact that it has gotten to the point where there's less honor in it is the main concern and should be everyone's main concern.
yeah, and that takes me to even in that previous little paragraph there, I wanted to make a statement about. I thought it was interesting that, and we've seen this once before in the Constitution as we've read it through. They, where it says anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So the word thing is capitalized, and it's referring back to the idea that the Constitution is supreme, everything else falls under. So basically, if you go outside, only everything brings itself back to the idea of what of constitutionality, like any and everything. Like, yeah, so once you're outside, you're a vagrant. You've stepped outside of your ability to assert any any authority underneath the guise of government.
As yeah, as most judges will say, it's void.
There you go.
It's void even as it's written. It's void. There's a lot of things that are void of contractual agreement that are on their face. Just because it's written doesn't make it law or make it right or make it any kind of legal system of validation. Yeah, you can write all you want to. It's just like, you go right now, you could take out a book and start writing, but that doesn't make it law just because you wrote it.
It's funny. I was I don't know, just maybe a couple weeks ago. I haven't been on social media much, but I just posted a thing, and I was curious to know who would say anything in response. I literally got nothing on this, considering how loud the echo chambers have gotten, and all I stated was you can't constitutionally declare anything underneath Admiralty maritime jurisdiction. And I was hoping, in these times, someone would engage me, considering all this rhetoric that's going about what you're allowed to do, what entities are saying you're capable of, without any evidence to the ability to perform such a thing. It's just very weird that people aren't, using this time to highlight the supremacy of the Constitution over these legal, declarations that are coming about, and sometimes not even legal, if you want to go that far. It's just a lot.
It gets into that whole, fear is a great motivator. And it's interesting that people fear something that's not real. It's like a dream. You had a nightmare, but you still bring it into reality. Nightmare on Elm Street. You over here, Freddy, for lack of better, Freddy's chasing you and telling you he's gonna get you, and you woke up and still like, Freddy's gonna get me. Well, everyone knows that he can only act in the dream world. So why are you taking about it? Just don't go to sleep. Just don't listen. Why even do it? Why you even worry about it? I always think it's interesting that, because we always say here, all words matter. No one looks at the context of what's being said, especially when they say, we would like you to, we request, we're asking, all those mean that there's no way they can enforce it. But because you assume that because of where the place it comes from, the statements come from, that makes it some kind of supreme power, which it can't be.
Yeah, I know it happens. You're at your house. Some piece of paper shows up. It's got big bold print, all caps, and state of XYZ, blah blah. It says summons on it, but you didn't take the time to understand or look up that and realize that summons is an invitation.
Practical application. So, like about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half. It might even be two now, dang, because time's been flying since all this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
We had one of our cars where some stuff was taken out of the car. Now, mind you, the car wasn't locked. That's our own fault. We didn't lock the car. Went to sleep. Next day, a couple things were missing. It wasn't nothing of major value or anything like that, but just a couple things were missing. And later on, like a couple months later, we got a summons for a date to where they found some people, some underage, some kids, some juveniles, where they were claiming that they were the ones who did it, and they wanted us to come testify. Now, being who I am, I called and asked questions like, well, one, I'm not coming. So let's just clear it up out the way, out the break. Two, how would you ask, how can I testify on something I have no knowledge of? You know, all I know is some stuff was property was taken. I don't know who did it. I didn't see them do it. I didn't chase them down the street. I didn't catch them. I didn't hold one down while, a cop showed up. All, all I did was report some things missing. So how can I testify? I was like, yeah, well, but if you come in and testify, we will, it will help out our case. And you still haven't told me what I'm testifying to and why I'm testifying, simply because I have no knowledge. So any kind of testimony I would give would be a lie. And well, you've been summoned. I was like, that's you, and I had to explain to the court clerk that a summons is a request, which she already knew, but didn't want to, put that on a plate because as long as I say give it with power, if I say it with intent, maybe they'll just comply with what I'm saying. It's like, on the street when you get pulled over, but we're not going to go into that right now because that's not what we're talking about. If I say it with an intent, people will just comply with what I'm asking them to do. Well, a summons is a request. Legally and lawfully, it's a request. It's not a demand. You can't make, you can't force. It's just a request. And I've been summoned. Yes, I can. You can ask for me to come in. It's my decision whether or not I will. And I simply said, yeah, you can ask all you want to. I'm not coming. Just so you know. And she was just like, okay, sir. And that was it. Because you have to say it with intent also. No one can force you to do anything outside of physical force, which is assault and battery, kidnapping, or whatever you want to call it. You're destroying property when you do that. So and it also goes on to that statement that we always make here. Threat, duress, and coercion. Nothing is legal when it's done under threat, duress, and coercion, or lawful. So that was my my practical application.
Random question here. I mean, it's not even necessarily like it has no real weight, but I'm just curious. Now, was the property of yours returned to you?
No, it was never returned.
So the only thing that could even base what they're saying to you to have any relevance to the matter, like if your property was returned, like, the only way they could have probably, like the high probability if my property was returned, they found the people who had my property.
Or they found it somewhere on the street or something, yeah. Or they found it, pretty much they found it.
And then link to being able to even, corroborate some type of testimony, like, I see the police work, turned up such evidence,
yes.
You
presented evidence to me that would lead me to think that maybe you are correct about who did it. When you have no evidence, no anything, all you made was a statement. Well, yes, the sky could be green. I don't agree with you, but I mean, if that's the way you want to see it.
Yeah. They can tell you, it rains every day because God is crying. Can you testify that? You see, it rains every day. What? Well, anyway, yeah, so that's a very interesting story. I never knew about that.
Yeah, it was just one of those one-off things that it doesn't go out your mind, but it gets pushed to the back burner.
Yeah,
being a man of color. Yeah, being a man of color, I have a lot of other things that have come up in my life that with law and legal system that have been way more prominent in my mind that get pushed, that are in the forefront. Like I said, that's one of the ones that get pushed to the back burner. But yeah.
All right. So, to your opinion here, do you think we should go over Article 7?
Yeah, we have time. So.
All right. So, Article 7, the ratification of the conventions of the of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this constitution between the states so ratifying the same.
At that time, there were there, how many states were there? Were 11, right?
Like 13 original
13,
colonies.
13, yeah, 13. That's 2/3.
Well, yeah, and that's usually their the body politic agreement of you know, everyone, overall consensus on the matter. Consensus, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, so for anything to be ratified, as far as a constitution or make an amendment or things of that nature, it must have 2/3 House representation and be agreed to, right? Not everything has had the 2/3 House ratification, and there's been many debates upon whether something is actual constitutionally sound without the ratification. But according to the Constitution, the original 13 colonies, you have to have, it must be a ratification. I think it's where the debate comes in is because it doesn't say it must. And there's no actual.
Yeah, it says shall be sufficient. I mean, shall has the encompassing, but
the issue is too because shall also means must.
Yeah, it's actually implied in the term shall.
Yeah, in the term shall, it means it means must, because as we've read the documents, legal language and dictionaries, shall also has that weight behind it of must. Definite, yes.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So I was just saying, I'm sorry, actually I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just saying, so when you come into contact with certain amendments, and talking about, was never certified and never ratified, that is a reason for it, because the original 7 and the first 10 amendments are actually articles, and are the only articles, which means they are inalienable rights, and they're inalienable, so no matter what, they're always there. So it it is what it is.
Oh, hey, I know what I was gonna say. I think this might be a good little quick discussion. So I was just checking out a podcast, and the host was mentioning how we're in an interesting impasse right now, where it was I mean, now this is a poll, so you know how we feel about polls, but of the people who took the poll, it was like 1/3, just about 1/3 of the people in this nation are interested. Well, 1/3 of the people in the study group would like to see the states broken up, and they want to go back to the idea of secession. Now that leaves another 1/3 of the people who are strongly in favor of the system we have now, and then that middle 1/3 of people who are indifferent. And that's kind of crazy to me, because I was just thinking, man, in 2021, even if that's just kind of like you grab, I mean, now, of course, I'm sure it depends on where you grab this data from. Like, of course, that might look different in Texas versus Maine or something like that. But, just such a strong polarization about whether or not the federal government should have the oversight that it currently does. Like, well, I mean, of course, there's a certain demographic who, when you talk about states' rights, what's on their mind instantly. But they want that ability to subvert, the federal level of government practice, because they feel like the current system is trampling on them for one reason or another. Some may have valid reasoning, as the federal government tends to be what's the word? Not overbearing.
Intrusive,
Yeah,
evasive,
intrusive. There you go. That's a great word.
intrusive. It's very intrusive. It's only intrusive because you allow it to be. Remember we talked about this. We had a whole cast. Every cast is about this actually.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, people will do what you let them, and a lot of times those in government have no idea of what their job is. Anyone who's ever tried to contact any kind of government entity can attest to that. There's a lot of people within the government that don't know what their job is and how to do it properly. Don't let someone who you know is not qualified to make a decision for you make a decision for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I, I always looked at it like this. God has a plan for me, right?
Mm.
Why am I letting somebody else who's not God try to tell me what the plan is?
Yeah. Well, considering they subscribe literally just by being where they're posted in life, or as an official title or position, are literally bound to what God has planned for you, because the Constitution bears it out that your inalienable rights are what are God given. Therefore, you should be able to proceed, as it says in Hale versus Hinkle, in your own way.
In your own way. We didn't go over why Hale versus Hinkle is so important in our cast. That's the one thing you didn't state for the first time. Why it's so important, how many times it's been cited.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we know it's been used like must be over 2,000 times in legal proceedings, or just judicial review, or anything related to the justice system, laws, legal and otherwise. Has never been struck down, or never been contradicted in any fashion. It's never been beaten down or opposed in any viable way. It stands true
It's
to
never
this.
been overruled or overturned.
Yeah, what's that's what that like 115 years. This thing has been on the books, never been overturned or overruled.
Most cited case in law today,
It's
because
crazy how relevant it is.
it's always relevant to know that every man is their own man. No man who is not that man can tell another man what to do outside of contract.
Yeah, unlimited right to contract.
This is literally what it says.
I mean, the idea of government itself is a contract between the fictitious entity and the people, which you are obliged to shed at the moment you feel as though it's chafing you.
What does the Constitution of Maryland Declaration of Rights say? Article 1.
Um,
The people have every right to alter, reform, or abolish their
there you
form
go.
of government as they deem expedient. Um, and we both know that people is both singular and plural. So the contract between you and the government is only in an implied contract, and you can at all times, you know, alter, reform, or abolish it as you see fit, whenever you see fit, because you have unlimited. What does it say? Hale versus Hinkle. Unlimited. What is it?
Right to contract, even and they capitalize all caps, as a citizen. Even as a citizen, you have unlimited right to contract, opt in or opt out to agreements and deals with entities and people. Well, entities, because we're dealing within the government when we're talking about Hale versus Hinkle.
They hate when you let those contracts expire.
Yeah, they're not a fan. They expect you to re up. Speaking of which, a quick aside. I'm not going to get into this. I just wanted to mention to you, it had jogged my mind the other day, and I'm really in the go you've pretty much you've done it to a degree, but I'm gonna go through the redemption process. That's all.
You want to identify the contract?
Well, I want what I really want is all rights to my straw man. So if it's ever brought up for any public record, it's understood that all rights are reserved exclusive to me.
Oh, so you're gonna copyright it?
Yeah.
That's what's up. Every time they use it, they must pay you for it. That's it's kind of hurting. You know, I thought about going that route. I just haven't done it yet. I don't know why I haven't.
Well, yeah, I see you're in a great vantage point to do it. You're like,
yeah, I can do it.
Myself.
I'm already, yeah. I don't. There is no one in control of it right now.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's better you have sole exclusive control of considering where you stand.
Yeah. And I'm gonna copyright that in all variations of it. So that way, if they want, the only person who can claim ownership is just me. And possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yep. Man, hey, it's funny because I feel like we just I hope we educated somebody out there, and these days I'm just really feeling that strong tie towards education, and I'm glad we had this cast today because I had already been thinking about that process, and now it kind of of all the things I'm doing, it kind of shifted around in my mind, but this discussion really helped jog my what's the word? Not my memory about it, but more so the energy to be active, proactive.
Yeah, I have my contract is. Yeah, my contract says, my everything is valid, but I gotta call the governor's office today because they still owe me some paperwork they haven't sent over yet. Where it's just pretty much a signing off on, I received this. I still have, it was sent certified, of course, but that also is a admission of receiving. But I like them to, outside of just telling me on the phone, that, I want some actual tangible, saying you received evidence.
Yeah, it would be nice. It'd be honorable, for sure.
It would be. It would be very honorable.
You would expect from your what you would expect from governments and quote unquote representatives.
Yes. Yeah. I always get. Sometimes I get tired of calling the governor's office. They remember when I walked in there, it was like, oh hi, how are you doing? Like, everyone. It feels like Cheers. Where everybody knows your name.
Wanna go?
Yeah.
But hey, we gotta get back in the lab a little bit because that's the first 7 articles. We can go into amendments.
Yeah, I want to do the first 10. I want to get into the first 10 because of the fact that they are written as amendments and that they are specifically articles written as amendments.
Yeah, I was thinking the same myself. So great, actually, that deals with that for the next few coming weeks, and it'll be really enriching for everyone who's been following thus far to take the trail all the way to its conclusion.
Yeah, that would be very. What was I saying? That would be amazing. That would be a great thing to do. Because remember, the whole purpose of this is for comprehension and understanding. So you know what the law says versus assuming and being told as people like to do in this world. It's better to have your own knowledge than to have someone else's.
Absolutely.
So, I hope y'all enjoyed the cast for today. Everything we said, you can Google it. It's in plain sight. if you have any questions, there is a Facebook page. They have everything DMV Radio. You can go on the YouTube account. You can questions, concerns, comments. Um, we love to hear from you, and we do this as a labor of love, as Plain Sight always says. It's a labor of love. So
What's up? We on all streaming platforms. We out here.
yeah. So
Yeah, feedback is appreciated.
thank you for going along this journey with us, and we will see you again next week.
Y'all take it easy.
In Black's Law.
Peace.
Peace.